The debt ceiling, or debt limit, is a cap on how much debt the federal government is allowed to accumulate. Congress is constitutionally required to authorize the issuance of debt. Doing so then allows the government to borrow its existing legal obligations like Social Security, Medicare benefits, military salaries, interest on the national debt, tax refunds, and other payments. It used to be that every time you did a treasury auction where you borrowed, Congress would pass a new law just for that auction. In 1917, the US needed to borrow a lot of money for World War I, so in order to simplify that process and make it easier, Congress shifted to a new system where they said you can borrow up to this amount of money and then come back if you need more. Congress has increased or suspended the debt limit 78 times since 1960. Economists look at how much the government is expected to bring in through tax payments, when those payments are expected to arrive in treasury accounts, and scheduled debt payments to determine a time frame. The federal government technically hit the debt limit in January, and extraordinary measures have kept the payments flowing since then. Experts cannot pinpoint the exact date when funds will run out, but they can identify a general range which is expected to fall sometime in early June or possibly as late as July or August. Debt has generally been an unpopular concept in American politics. Every vote a lawmaker casts is part of that person's political record, and many lawmakers do not want to be seen as signing off on more federal borrowing or spending. Lawmakers also like to tack extraneous priorities onto bills that are seen as must-pass legislation. That makes the debt limit a prime target for political fights. Everybody uses bills to increase the debt ceiling for their favorite policies. The real problem here is that you now have people actually talking about defaulting. In the past, votes to increase the debt limit were relatively quiet and non-controversial affairs. That changed in 2011 when the country came dangerously close to default. The stock market at one point was down intraday almost 20%. That's a pretty large market swoon. At the time, Republican House Speaker John Boehner was in a standoff with Obama over spending. Republicans wanted a deep spending cuts and caps on how much federal spending could grow after the cuts were enacted. Obama insisted Congress raise the debt limit without any extraneous policies known as a clean increase. Congress eventually reached a deal to increase the debt limit along with caps on future spending, but not before the credit rating agency Standard & Poor's downgraded the nation's debt for the first time ever. Many economists say the situation today is strikingly similar to the political fight in 2011, and there are serious concerns that the country could default. So what could happen if it's not raised? The Treasury Department would be unable to make payments when they are due. Missing a payment of any kind or size could be considered a default. Some Republicans have suggested choosing which debts to pay, a system called payment prioritization. Congress would have to pass a law to make that possible, which is politically very unlikely. Most experts say it might also be impossible to execute from a practical standpoint, and the idea is not being seriously considered as a solution at this time. So has the US ever failed to make these debt payments? No. And that is part of why the federal government is able to easily sell shared treasury bonds to investors across the globe, and why the US dollar is one of the most trusted currencies. Treasuries are the debt vehicle that are most trusted in the entire world, to the point where even if there is an economic crisis that originates in the US, people come and buy treasuries because they trust them. They trust the US, they trust the fact that they will get paid if that is called into question, because we actually do start to default and we don't pay the interest that is due. We will never be able to regain that most trusted role in the same capacity we had before. Would capping or cutting spending now resolve the problem? No, the debt limit is related to money that has been spent as a result of laws Congress has already passed. In fact, some of the debt being accumulated is a result of laws passed under former presidents, including Donald Trump. A US default could cause a huge ripple of negative consequences throughout the global financial system. Any hit to the country's credit rating could do long-term harm to the value of US treasuries and make the country a less appealing investment. Don't worry about your stock portfolio, worry about your job. Because a lot of jobs are going to be lost, unemployment is going to be a lot higher. The debt ceiling is a terrible way to try to impose fiscal responsibility. And as always, take care of your money.